One very common disease which is seemingly being overlooked in the modern medicinal era is the influenza virus. This is an unfortunate reality, as the flu has the potential to eradicate millions of people, just as it did 90 years ago. From 1918 to 1919, a Spanish strain of the influenza virus killed between 20 and 40 million people worldwide. Probably the worst epidemic in human history in terms of loss of life, this flu killed more people in a single year than the bubonic plague did in 4 years. The influenza pandemic of 1918 was characterized at first by usual symptoms of fever, nausea, aches, and pneumonia. However, over time, dark spots formed on victims, and they would eventually turn blue and suffocate as a lack of oxygen filled the lungs with a frothy, bloody substance. This strain of influenza was nearly 1,000,000 times more potent than any strain known of influenza today. It is thought that the virus originated by the Germans in World War I as a biological weapon against the Allies. Modern transportation and armies in the war greatly contributed to the spread of this disease. As a result, millions of people were in countries in which they did not live, and in turn, nearly every corner of the globe was affected by this terrible outbreak, with port cities in the U.S. getting hit the first and the hardest. Anywhere from 20 to 100 million people died worldwide by the hands of the 1918 Spanish flu. The name originates from a report that nearly 10 million people died in Spain in 1 month alone at the hands of the virus. In the United States, around 675,000 citizens fell victim to this disease, almost 10 times more than the number killed almost 10 times more than the number of people killed in the war, while it is estimated that 25% of the entire population carried the disease. The scary thing about the Spanish flu is that it killed strong, healthy adults, not just children and the elderly. Doctors were of no use to the victims. They could only promote preventative measures against infections, such as hand washing and staying away from the infected. Looking towards the future, the possibility of another such epidemic is very real. Our country is in conflict with terrorists and other unstable nations, and they could potentially unleash a biological warfare. Thus, it is imperative that the scientific community be willing to contribute money and effort into combating these devastating strains of the flu. Preventative measures for combating the flu are well publicized, so additional funds for that mode of defense are not necessary. However, the scientific community needs to develop new vaccines for advanced strains of the flu virus. Thus, I'm proposing that $10 million be allotted to combat the influenza virus, $5 million for the research and development of new vaccines, and an additional $5 million for the rapid making and distribution to the people of the United States. If we cannot achieve this goal quickly, we may have another massive loss of life not only in the United States, but worldwide.